My name is Elizabeth R. Rios, and I am 28 years old. The night my boyfriend asked me to pretend our relationship was over so he could test whether he still loved his ex-girlfriend, I said one word. Okay. Then I packed a suitcase and left permanently. Daniel did not understand that part yet. The apartment felt completely ordinary that Tuesday evening. Garlic chicken still scented the kitchen, and rain tapped softly against the windows. Daniel sat across from me at the small dining table we had assembled together 3 years earlier, pushing broccoli around his plate without eating it. We had been together for 3 years, and lived together for 2. I believed we were stable. I had savings for a future home, a spreadsheet tracking our finances, and a secret folder containing photographs of engagement rings. I thought we were moving toward marriage. Daniel was preparing to move backward. Marissa is coming to town, he said. His ex-girlfriend, the woman he dated during college, the woman who treated him like an option, disappeared whenever someone more exciting appeared, and left him emotionally wrecked. I had spent the first 6 months of our relationship listening while he explained what she had done to him. Is she visiting friends? I asked. She messaged me. He finally looked up. His expression was not guilty. It was excited. She'll be here for a week, and she wants to see me. The knot in my stomach tightened. And you want to see her? Daniel inhaled slowly. I think I need to. I placed my fork down. What does that mean? Coffee, dinner, talking. I don't know. His answer came too quickly. He knew exactly what he wanted. We never had closure, he continued. Things just ended. You and I are good, Elizabeth. You're stable. You're safe. Safe. A lock was safe. A retirement account was safe. Safe was not how a man described the woman he loved while asking permission to pursue someone else. I keep wondering what might have happened, he said. It isn't fair to either of us if I carry that question forever. I need to know whether there's still a spark. I stared at him. You want to pause our relationship so you can date Marissa for a week. Don't make it sound ugly. How should I make it sound? It's about clarity. If she wants you, you leave me. If she rejects you again, you return to me. His face flushed. That isn't fair. It is exactly what you're proposing. Daniel reached across the table. I pulled my hand away. If you love me, he whispered, you'll let me figure this out. Then he explained the final part. He wanted me to stay with my sister or book a hotel until Sunday. Marissa would be more comfortable if I was not in the apartment. The apartment where my name was on the lease. The apartment where I paid 60% of the rent. The home he wanted cleared of my presence so he could test another woman without confronting the evidence of my life beside his. When I come back, I said. You'll have your answer? Yes. He smiled hopefully. I'm 99% sure I'll choose you. 99%. He wanted me to feel grateful for favorable odds in a competition I had never agreed to enter. Something inside me went cold. I could have yelled. I could have begged him not to destroy us. I could have demanded that he choose immediately. Instead, I understood that he already had. I stood, carried my plate to the trash, and scraped the untouched food into the bin. Okay. Daniel blinked. Okay? If you need to figure it out, figure it out. Relief spread across his face. Thank you. I knew you'd understand. Most women would become controlling. I understand perfectly. I entered the bedroom and pulled my largest suitcase from the closet. Only pack for the week, Daniel called after me. I opened the safe first. Passport, birth certificate, social security card, car documents, then my grandmother's bracelet, work hard drives, expensive headphones, professional clothes, and every object I would regret leaving behind. Daniel appeared in the doorway. Marissa lands in 2 hours, he said. You should pick her up. His smile returned. At the front door, he tried to kiss me. I turned my head, letting his lips touch my cheek. Then I removed my key and placed it in his palm. You can keep this. You're coming back Sunday. You may need a spare for Marissa. I stepped into the hallway and closed the door softly behind me. In my car, I transferred my exact share of our joint savings into my personal account. Then I blocked Daniel everywhere. He thought I had agreed to a temporary breakup. I had agreed only that he was free to find out what remained with Marissa. What he did not know was that there was already nothing left between him and me. The first night after leaving Daniel was strangely quiet. I checked into a hotel 20 minutes from the apartment we had shared. I expected to fall apart the moment I closed the door. I imagined myself lying awake, wondering whether Marissa was sitting in my place at the table, drinking from my mug, or laughing at the same stories Daniel had once told me. But the jealousy never came. I ordered steak from room service, opened my laptop, and slept for 9 uninterrupted hours. It turns out anxiety needs hope to survive. You only torture yourself when you believe there is still something worth saving. By Wednesday morning, I knew there was not. I went to work as usual. I was a project manager for a logistics company, which meant my entire job involved moving complicated things from one place to another while minimizing damage. So I treated my life like a failed project. First, I contacted the landlord. Mr. Henderson had always preferred dealing with me because I paid on time and fixed minor problems without calling him. Daniel was the one who complained at 10 at night because a light bulb stopped working. I need to remove myself from the lease, I told him during lunch. There was a pause. Is Daniel moving out too? No, he wanted the apartment to himself. Mr. Henderson did not ask why. If you pay the 2-month break fee, I can prepare an amendment, but Daniel will need to qualify for the full lease alone. That is between you and him. The penalty was $3,000. Watching the money leave my account hurt, but not as much as remaining financially tied to someone who had already replaced me in his imagination. I signed the documents that afternoon. Thursday became apartment hunting day. I had nearly $12,000 in a high-yield savings account labeled Future Home. Part of it had been intended for an engagement ring Daniel once admired, though he never knew I was considering proposing. I renamed the account Freedom Fund. That afternoon, I toured a one-bedroom loft downtown. Exposed brick, hardwood floors, tall windows overlooking the city. No photographs of Daniel. No memories of repairing fights he started. No space reserved for someone waiting to test whether another woman was more exciting. The rent was higher than my share of the old apartment, but my income qualified easily. When would you like to move in? The property manager asked. Tonight. I bought an air mattress, a folding chair, and basic kitchen supplies. I ate Chinese food on the floor while streetlights painted long lines across the empty walls. The apartment echoed. I had never felt safer. Friday evening, my friend Melissa texted me, "Are you and Daniel okay?" I stared at the message. Why? Her reply came quickly. I saw him at Avery's with some woman in a leather jacket. They looked intense. She was practically sitting in his lap. Marissa. Daniel had taken her to Avery's, the restaurant where he and I celebrated our first anniversary. He was recycling our memories for another woman. I typed, "We broke up Tuesday. I moved out." Melissa immediately called, but I declined and asked her to text. "I'm sorry. Honestly, he looks miserable. She keeps reaching for him and he keeps checking his phone. That detail did not make me feel better. It made everything uglier." Daniel had destroyed a stable relationship for a fantasy, and even during the fantasy, he looked distracted. Saturday passed in a blur of assembling furniture. I bought a gray sofa, decent sheets, a coffee maker, and a television larger than I needed. By nightfall, the loft looked less temporary. Meanwhile, Daniel still believed I was waiting somewhere for his decision. He probably imagined me in a hotel, staring at my phone, counting the hours until Sunday. He had no idea that I had signed a new lease, separated our finances, and removed my name from the apartment. Sunday morning arrived. Marissa was leaving town that afternoon. I went for a run, made coffee, and sat beside the window watching traffic below. At 11, I unblocked Daniel's number. Not because I wanted him back, because I wanted him to hear the truth from me. At 1:14 p.m., my phone rang. Daniel. I watched it ring 3 times before answering. "Elizabeth?" His voice was breathless and unsteady. "Are you there?" I'm here. Oh, thank God. He released a laugh that sounded dangerously close to a sob. This week was a disaster. I leaned back against my new sofa. Was it? Marissa isn't who I remembered. I closed my eyes. The audition was over. Now he expected the safety net to return. Daniel rushed through the words as though speed might carry him past the consequences. She's selfish, Elizabeth. She's immature. She kept talking about how trapped she feels whenever relationships become serious. By the second day, I already knew I had made a mistake. I looked around my new apartment. Sunlight spilled across the hardwood floor. My coffee sat beside me. The silence felt clean. Daniel continued. I spent the entire week thinking about you. Marissa was only a fantasy. What we have is real. What did she say when you told her that? He paused. That doesn't matter. It sounds like it matters. She left this morning. His voice became softer. I choose you, Elizabeth. I repeated the words slowly. You choose me. Yes. I know I hurt you, and I'm sorry. But now I'm completely sure. I needed this week to understand what I already had. The entitlement in his voice was almost breathtaking. He believed the relationship had remained frozen while he explored another woman. He thought I had been standing in the same place, waiting for him to return and approve me. Come home, he said. I bought ingredients for that pasta you like. We can forget all of this happened. I can't do that. The line went quiet. What do you mean? I'm not coming back. He gave a nervous laugh. You're still angry. I understand. We can talk when you get here. I'm not at my sister's house. Another pause. Then where are you? At home. You're not here. No, Daniel. You're in your apartment. I'm in mine. The panic reached his voice immediately. What are you talking about? I signed a new lease Thursday. You did what? I removed myself from our lease, transferred my share of the savings, and moved into a new apartment. His breathing became uneven. But we agreed this was temporary. You decided it was temporary. You said okay. I said okay to ending the relationship. No. His voice rose. You knew I only needed a week. You needed a week to decide whether your ex-girlfriend was better than me. I needed one evening to understand I deserved better than you. He started talking over me. You cannot just disappear. We built a life together. You asked me to leave that life so Marissa could occupy it. The rent is too much for me alone. There it was. Not love. Not heartbreak. Rent. I paid through the end of the month, I said. Mr. Henderson will contact you about qualifying for the lease by yourself. You spoke to the landlord? Yes. Without telling me? The irony almost made me laugh. You invited another woman into our home without caring what it did to me. She's gone, he said desperately. She didn't even stay the whole week. That changes nothing. Daniel's voice broke. I have no one now. You had someone. He began crying then. Real, uneven sobs. Please, Elizabeth. I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. You planned this. You asked me to disappear so you could pursue Marissa without feeling guilty. I love you. No. You loved knowing I would always be there. Please don't hang up. I closed my eyes. We're not pretending anymore, Daniel. Then I ended the call and blocked him again. For several minutes, I remained on the sofa listening to the city outside. I expected grief to crush me. Instead, the room seemed larger. I walked to the refrigerator, opened a beer, and took the first peaceful sip of my new life. 2 days later, Melissa sent me a screenshot of Daniel's social media post. Some women run away the moment a relationship becomes difficult. Real love means staying and fighting, even when people are confused. He had transformed himself into the abandoned boyfriend. He conveniently left out Marissa. I did not respond publicly. Then messages arrived from his friends. You cannot leave him with the full rent. At least hear him out. He made one mistake. I replied only to his best friend, Anthony. Daniel asked me to leave our apartment so he could spend a week sleeping with his ex-girlfriend. I made his request permanent. Feel free to help with his rent. Anthony never answered. By the end of the day, Daniel's post disappeared. But the following Friday, I encountered the one person who revealed exactly how badly his fantasy had failed: Marissa herself. Friday evening, I joined several co-workers at a downtown bar to celebrate the completion of a difficult project. I was halfway through my second drink when I noticed a woman in a worn leather jacket sitting alone near the end of the counter. Marissa. I recognized her from photographs Daniel had shown me years earlier. She looked older than the version he had preserved in his memory. Her hair was pulled back carelessly, and she kept checking her phone with the restless irritation of someone waiting for an excuse to leave. For several minutes, I considered ignoring her. Then curiosity won. I took the empty stool beside her and ordered another drink. "Tough week?" I asked. She glanced at me and gave a humorless laugh. "You have no idea." "I might." She studied my face but showed no recognition. Marissa drained the last of her whiskey. "I came here to visit an old boyfriend," she said. "I thought it would be casual. Maybe dinner, maybe something physical. Then I'd go home." My fingers tightened around my glass. "What happened?" He became intense immediately. The first night he started talking about destiny and second chances. By the next morning he was asking whether I could imagine moving back here. She rolled her eyes. I told him I wasn't looking for a relationship. "And he accepted that?" "Not remotely." She ordered another shot. Then I found out he had kicked his girlfriend out for the week so I could stay there. The disgust in her voice was unmistakable. "What did you think about that?" "I thought it was pathetic." The answer surprised me. Marissa continued. "If a man can remove a loyal woman from her own home just because an ex sends him a message, why would I trust him?" He kept saying she understood, and that they were only taking a break. She laughed bitterly. "No woman understands that. She either left him permanently or has no self-respect." I looked down at my drink. She left. Marissa turned toward me. The recognition arrived slowly. "You're Elizabeth." "Yes." Her face paled. For a moment neither of us spoke. Then she said, "I'm sorry. You didn't make him ask me to leave." "No, but I came anyway. At least you left." Her expression hardened with remembered frustration. "I left Wednesday. He kept trying to make me jealous by talking about how stable you were, how you cooked, how you managed the bills, how you always knew what to do." The absurdity almost made me smile. Daniel had invited Marissa into our apartment to test whether she was better than me, then spent the week describing everything he had thrown away. "He called you safe," I said. "He called you the best person he had ever known." That hurt in a different way. Not because I wanted him back, but because he had understood my value all along. He simply believed it would remain available regardless of how he treated me. Marissa slid off the stool. "For what it's worth, I told him he deserved to lose you." Then she left. I sat alone for several minutes, absorbing the final collapse of Daniel's fantasy. Marissa had not returned because she loved him. She had been curious. Daniel had destroyed our relationship for a woman who lost respect for him the moment she learned what he had done. The following week, emails began arriving at my work address. Daniel had discovered it was the only channel I could not completely block without involving the company. The first subject line read, "Please read the truth." He wrote that what happened with Marissa was not cheating, but a search for clarity. He said the experience proved that the grass was not greener, and that I was the only woman he truly wanted. I deleted it. The next email was about rent. Mr. Henderson had informed him that he did not qualify for the apartment alone. Daniel needed either a roommate or a significant increase in income. "We were partners, Elizabeth. Please pay your half for one more month." I forwarded it to spam. He had stopped speaking about love. Now he was asking me to finance the consequences. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in a coffee shop near my new apartment with a man named Ethan. He was an architect, quick-witted and confident without being arrogant. It was our first date, and for the first time in months, I was laughing without forcing it. The cafe door opened. Daniel walked in carrying a stack of flyers. He looked exhausted. His hair was unwashed. Dark circles surrounded his eyes, and the flyers in his hand read, "Roommate wanted. Available immediately." Then he saw me. His gaze moved from my new haircut to Ethan's hand resting lightly beside mine. "Elizabeth," he whispered. Ethan glanced toward him. "Friend of yours?" I looked at the man who had called me safe, dismissed our future, and expected me to wait while he tested another woman. Then I turned back to Ethan. "No," I said calmly. "I don't know him." Daniel stood frozen near the cafe entrance. For a moment, I saw every emotion cross his face: disbelief, humiliation, anger, and finally, the realization that I meant it. Ethan looked from him to me. "You're sure?" "Completely." Daniel took one step closer. "Elizabeth, can we talk?" I lifted my coffee. "No." His fingers tightened around the roommate flyers. "You cannot pretend you don't know me." The irony was almost beautiful. He had asked me to pretend we were broken up so he could pursue Marissa. Now he was offended because I refused to perform familiarity for him. "I'm not pretending," I said. The cafe had gone quiet enough that several people nearby were listening. Daniel's face reddened. "I made one mistake." "You made a plan." I apologized. "You explained why you thought you were entitled to forgiveness." Ethan remained calm beside me, giving me room to handle it without trying to become my protector. Daniel noticed him. "So this is what you're doing now? Dating strangers to punish me?" Ethan raised an eyebrow, but I placed one hand lightly on his wrist. "This has nothing to do with punishing you," I told Daniel. My life continued. His expression cracked. For the first time, he looked less like an angry ex and more like a frightened man discovering that the door he expected to reopen no longer existed. "Please," he whispered. "I'm losing the apartment. That is not my responsibility. I can't afford it alone." "You should have considered that before asking the woman paying most of the rent to leave." His eyes filled. I felt no triumph, only distance. Daniel looked at the roommate flyers, then back at me. "I really did choose you." "No. You returned after Marissa rejected the version of you that betrayed me." The words landed hard. He stood there for another second, then turned and walked out. One of the flyers slipped from his hand and landed near the door. Nobody picked it up. Ethan waited until the cafe noise returned before asking, "Do you want to leave?" I looked through the window as Daniel disappeared into the crowd. "No," I said. "I want to finish my coffee." That was the last time I saw him. 6 months later, Melissa told me Daniel had failed to qualify for the apartment alone. Mr. Henderson ended the lease after 2 missed payments, and Daniel moved back to Ohio with his parents. His credit had taken a serious hit. Marissa blocked him. Apparently, he told mutual friends that both of us had abandoned him during a vulnerable period. Some people will describe every consequence as abandonment if accountability has never been part of their lives. I did not defend myself. I no longer needed anyone to understand why I left. My promotion came through in autumn. The new position included better pay, more responsibility, and several international projects. I traveled to Japan for work and stayed an extra week alone. One evening, I stood beneath the lights of Tokyo and realized I had gone an entire day without thinking about Daniel. Healing had not arrived with a dramatic speech. It had happened quietly, in hours I filled with my own choices. Ethan and I continued seeing each other. We moved slowly. He never asked me to compete with a memory. He never called stability boring or kindness weakness. When he felt uncertain, he spoke honestly instead of creating a test designed for me to fail. The savings account once meant for an engagement ring became the beginning of a down payment on a home I would choose for myself. I never received traditional closure from Daniel. No perfect apology. No final conversation where he fully understood the damage he caused. Eventually, I realized closure is often a story people tell because they are afraid to leave a door unlocked behind them. I did not need Daniel to agree that the relationship was over. I had already walked out. He wanted 1 week to discover whether something still existed between him and Marissa. He received his answer. The fantasy was empty. But while he was searching for what remained with her, he destroyed what had been real with me. When he called expecting to resume our life, I told him the truth. We are not pretending anymore. I meant more than the breakup. I was finished pretending disrespect could coexist with love. Finished pretending loyalty meant waiting quietly while someone compared me to another woman. Finished pretending being chosen second was still being chosen. Daniel wanted to test the waters. I walked out of the ocean. And by the time he turned around, there was absolutely nothing left for him to return to.